There's been a lot of commentary this week that this has been the worst week in your campaign. A lot of people want to stop you. Are they succeeding?
I don't know that it's been the worst week in my campaign. I think I've had many bad weeks and I've had many good weeks. I don't see this as the worst week in my campaign, but certainly I've had some weeks, and you've been reporting on them, where that was the end, and then the next week you see poll numbers where they went up and everybody's shocked. So yeah, people want to stop me because I'm leading by a lot. The new polls that came out have me leading by just about more than ever. NBC had a very good national poll that just came out. I guess I'm leading very big in New York and Pennsylvania.
But you're down by 10 in Wisconsin. You had a week where abortion rights, where everybody on both sides of the abortion issue didn't know what your position was. Your campaign manager was...
That was asked as a hypothetical question, and he said if abortion is illegal. The bottom line is that it is the doctor's fault, but that was asked as a hypothetical.
Well, I want to get back to that in a minute, but your campaign manager is charged this week. That's not a good week.
Do I love it? No. But am I going to ruin a man's life by firing him when I look at a tape that I supplied? I mean, that tape was from one of my facilities. We have cameras all over the place for security. I do a good job with security, and we have cameras. And I looked and I said, what did he do? I mean, you know, do you destroy a man's life? You look at her and you look at her initial statement. She grabbed my arm, obviously. Everybody sees that. She grabs my arm. But then when you looked at her initial statement, it was that she was almost thrown down to the ground. And, and by the way, if she were actually thrown down to the ground and all those things happened, I would have fired him instantaneously. But I don't want to ruin a man's life over a tape that looks like practically nothing happened.
But here's what happened. Your campaign manager said she was delusional when the report came out. He said it didn't happen. When the report first came out, did you talk to him?
Well, I could see maybe he not even knowing that it happened. Because
but did you talk to him about this event?
I did speak to him, but here's the thing.
What did he say?
It was such a minor incident that he might not have even known what was going on. I'm not sure that he knew her. I think he said he really didn't know her.
What did he say when you talked to him about it?
I don't think he knew too much about it. I talked to him very briefly, to be honest with you. I never thought this was going to turn into be much of a thing. Actually, when I really got engaged was after I saw this tape. Because if you look at the tape, practically nothing happens. And when you look at her early statement, before she knew we had a tape, if you look, because I supplied it, if you look at her early statement, John, it was like she was, really accosted. And I will tell you this, if what happened on her statement, if that happened, I would have fired him.
I'd like to talk about his statement, though, since he works for you. You want to be...
But nobody wants to talk about her statement.
She doesn't work for you, though. He works for you, and you're the boss.
Excuse me. Her statement was like this horrible thing happened. Then you look at the tape, and people are still trying to say, like, what happened?
But Mr. Trump, he said he didn't touch her. He said she was delusional. You said she was making it up. The videotape shows she wasn't making it up.
Well, if you look at the videotape, you don't even see a grab. You see her almost being blocked out.
So your
and by the way, she grabbed me, just so you understand. And you could see me going like that. She was not supposed to be asking any questions. The news conference was over. She bolted in from nowhere. She went in between Secret Service. She grabbed my arm, which everybody sees. I went like that, like, who is this person? And she started asking questions. She wasn't supposed to do it.
Did Corey Lewandowski tell the truth when he said he didn't touch her?
I don't know, because I can't tell you in what context. The event.
You don't know that he touched her or not?
The event to me, what do I know? The event to me
it's on the tape.
Seems so minor. Well, that's why I look at it. The only thing I have to go by is the tape.
And when you see it, does it look like he touched her?
To me, seems, well, he blocked her out. I don't see her grabbing. I see her being blocked out because she wasn't supposed to be there. But you also see her touching me before he ever even got involved. So here's the thing. Do I ruin a man's life? He's got 4 beautiful children. He's got a family. Do I fire him and ruin a man's life over something that when I looked at the tape, I said, what's going on? When I was in Wisconsin, I had a large audience. And I said, how many people saw the tape? And many people raised their hand. I say, how many people think, of those people that saw the tape, think that he should be fired? Not one, and you have it on your cameras, not one person raised their hand.
Is it okay for a man to put a hand on a woman?
Well, I'm not even sure he did that.
Just in general principle.
No, I would say not. But, when you're in I think you people professionally call it a scrum or something, where people are being knocked around all over the place. I've heard people in your business say, wow, I've gotten hit a lot worse than that. They get hit in the face with cameras. They get hit. You know, we were walking out. I was walking outside. She shouldn't have been there. She shouldn't have grabbed me. And he really was doing
You felt
interference.
threatened by her?
I didn't really feel threatened, okay? I guess I could say I should sue her. I didn't really feel threatened. But I didn't like somebody grabbing me, and I didn't like somebody asking me questions when that was all over.
Here's a question. He comes out, the video shows that he did grab her. What he said turned out not to be true. You said she made it up.
But what she said wasn't true, John.
But
Excuse me.
The main point is, did he touch her or not? He did touch her. So the question is for you, as the person with the power in this relationship, you've got all these people working for you, you've got all these big, huge buildings. Why not be the bigger person and say, she was treated roughly, she was my guest, I apologize to her, and let's move on.
Well, it's not my job to apologize to her. I had nothing. I just happened to be walking through.
But you're the man running the show.
Excuse me. I think that maybe if he didn't know, it could have been because the incident was so minor that he didn't even know what they were talking about. That's what I think. It'll get solved. It'll get taken care of. Let's see what happens.
We talk about
I have to be honest. I'm a loyal person. And I'll be very loyal to the country. And I'll be very loyal to the people of this country. I don't think I can destroy a man's life. And you will destroy his life. I don't think I can destroy, it's already had a big impact on him. I don't think I can destroy a man's life by what I saw on that video.
Let me ask you a question about abortion. What would you do to further restrict women's access to abortions as president?
Well, look, I mean, I know where you're going, and I just want to say, a question was asked to me, and it was asked in a very hypothetical, and it was said, illegal, illegal. I've been told by some people that was a older line answer, and that was an answer that was given on a basis of an older line from years ago, on a very conservative basis. But
your original answer, you mean?
My original, but
punishing
I was
woman.
asked as a hypothetical, hypothetically, the laws are set now on abortion, and that's the way they're going to remain until they're changed.
Because you had said you told Bloomberg in January that you believed abortion should be banned at some point in pregnancy. Where would you?
Well, first
do
of
the
all,
ban?
I would have liked to have seen this be a states' rights. I would have preferred states' rights. I think it would have been better if it were up to the states. But right now the laws are set, and that's the way the laws are.
But do you have a feeling how they should change? There are a lot of laws you want to change. You've talked about them on everything from libel to torture. Anything you'd want to change on abortion?
At this moment, the laws are set, and I think we have to leave it that way.
Do you think it's murder, abortion?
I have my opinions on it, but I'd rather not comment on it.
You said you're very pro-life. Pro-life
I
view
am
is that it's
pro-life.
abortion.
Yeah, I'm
abortion
pro-life.
is
No,
murder.
but I mean, I do have my opinions on it. I just don't think it's an appropriate forum.
But you don't disagree with that proposition, that it's murder?
What proposition?
That abortion is murder.
No, I don't disagree with it.
Let me ask you about the abortion question, which you've explained, the hypothetical nature of it, and also your answer on the spread of nuclear weapons. You said you were against proliferation, but then you said you seem to be okay with South Korea or Japan maybe getting one.
It's totally misquoted.
Well, people are so confused.
I know they're confused, and they shouldn't be, because all they have to do is watch. And I spoke with Anderson Cooper, and I spoke to Chris, I spoke to all of them, and I spoke to the New York Times, and I thought it was a very good piece in the New York Times. Look, nuclear is a horror show. I would be probably the last to even think about using it. People say, you promised never, ever to use it. You can't do a thing like that. You have to have cards on the table. But nuclear is a horror show. Just like I said, I don't want to go into Iraq, and I said that a long time ago. I wasn't the wall hawk. There were a lot of other people. Nuclear is a disaster. With that being said, we are taking care, and if you look into NATO as an example, we are funding and taking care disproportionately of the costs of many countries, many countries that are taking us for a ride. We have to do something with NATO. When it comes to nuclear, you're going to have to ask yourself, at what point and at what cost do we continue to protect Japan and Germany and many other countries? Now, they're not paying for this protection in anywhere near what it's costing us. We owe $19 trillion. At what point do they get involved and they say, we have to pay more money for this kind of protection? Now, at some point, they may have to protect themselves. Do I like that? Not particularly. But we cannot afford it as a country. John, we owe $19 trillion, going to $21 trillion because of the horrible omnibus budget,
Right.
which was a horror show. We cannot continue to do this.
When people looked at your answer on abortion, on proliferation, they got the sense you were just winging it on foreign on
No, I
policy
don't think
issues.
so.
Have
I'm
you
not
been
winging
studying
it.
up?
I have, but let me just tell you,
Like,
I'm not
is there an
winging it.
issue that you feel like you've gotten? Because your promise
Well,
is
I
when
watched John Kasich, and he said Donald Trump wants Japan, something to the effect that I want Japan, think of this, at a news conference or something yesterday, to arm, to have nuclear. I don't want them to have nuclear. But you know what? We cannot continue to defend all of these countries at a tremendous cost to our taxpayers. We just can't continue to do it. This is a different time. I said NATO is obsolete, which it is. It was 68 years or so old. You have 28 countries. These countries are being taken for a free ride. It doesn't really cover terrorism. It really covered the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist. Now, Russia exists, and Russia is plenty powerful, but it's not the Soviet Union. But remember this, John, what I was talking about is the economics also. We can't afford it. Nobody ever mentions that. Nobody ever talks about the economics. I want to get rid of our debt. I want to lower taxes. I want to do a lot of things. We can't continue to pay these tremendous costs.
You met with your foreign policy team in your
Yes.
hotel in Washington. What did you ask them?
More than anything else, I discussed nuclear. To me, the single biggest problem that this world has, and we'll knock out ISIS fast and we'll do a lot of things, but the single biggest problem that the world has is nuclear.
In what way do you mean that's the big?
I think if somebody gets nuclear weapons, that is a disaster.
What worries you the most about that?
I think that probably worries me the most.
Which country, though, of all the ones?
I think it could be many people. It's not even countries. It's splinter groups. It's people.
Did they say anything to you that you have been saying and said, you know, you probably shouldn't say that
Not
anymore?
at all. In fact, many of them, and I'll give you a full list of the people that were there, and the list is being added on, and we have many people that are top people that want to come on board. Many of them were surprised at my knowledge, and they were surprised at the feel that I had for it. I have a feel. I have a
Explain
common
that
sense.
feel.
I'll tell you what the feel is. The feel is, I was asked on a certain competitor show of yours about NATO. Now, as an entrepreneur, I've never been really asked too much about NATO. NATO is not exactly when I'm doing deals or building buildings in Washington or New York or wherever I may be building them. But the question was asked about NATO. Knowing a little bit about NATO at the time, this was a couple of weeks ago, I said, in my opinion, NATO's obsolete. It's many, many decades old, like now 68 years, but it's many, many decades old. And NATO's too expensive because we can't afford this anymore. And people are being brought in for a free ride. It turned out I was right on every single subject. The problem is, and I had a very good interview with David Sanger of the New York Times, and I was covered very, very fairly by the New York Times, which is unusual for them, if you want to know the truth. But I was covered by him very, very fairly. And people were surprised at the instinct that I had, because it turns out that we are spending too much money on NATO, and it turns out, very importantly, that it is obsolete. NATO's not talking about terrorism.
Let me talk about another meeting you had in Washington with the Republican National Committee.
Yeah.
Did they treat you fairly? Are they treating you fairly?
Well, I'd rather let you know in about 6 months from now. I don't know. I mean,
Well, you said they haven't
look,
been treating you. Where are you on that
I think
question
Reince is
today?
a very nice person. I get along with him, but I'm going to have to tell you, I think what's unfair is I won the state of Louisiana. I made speeches. I had that last evening in a hangar where you had thousands of people. It was incredible. And a big airplane hangar, a Boeing hangar. And I said, this is unbelievable. And I wasn't expected to win Louisiana, and I won Louisiana, right? I won a lot of states. I won, I think, 22 states. And I wonLouisiana, and I got less delegates than the guy who lost.
But isn't that proof that the people who took the
No,
delegates are
no,
beating you at the
no,
game?
No, that's
Wouldn't
not
Donald
America.
Trump do that?
No.
You
that's
wouldn't
not
play every
America.
angle to win.
When I win the state, I'm not supposed to get less delegates than somebody that got beat.
But as a businessman, you
No,
play
but
every
it's
angle you
not
can
America.
within the
Sure,
law,
sure.
and he's playing every.
But
Cruz
you know what?
is playing every
But
angle
it's
within the law.
not America. You go in and you win and you get less delegates, okay? Now, I just won Missouri. That just came out. And there was a whole thing going on there, too. But let me just tell you something. When I go in and win the state of Louisiana and I get less delegates, that's not the way the system's supposed to
Are you
work.
saying it's unfair or it's illegal?
Well, I think it could be illegal, if you want to know the
Yeah.
truth. And that's my question. I
Because
said
the
to
pros
lawyers,
say
I
he
said,
just beat you. They
No,
just say
no,
Cruz
no.
beat you at that.
Give me a break. Let me just. I go in, he campaigned, I campaigned, I got the votes, and then I'd get less delegates?
There was a reporting at this meeting with the RNC that you seemed a little upset with your own team's delegate operation, that they're not in this fight as much as they should be. Is that right?
It's false reporting, other than I mentioned that Louisiana, which really bothers me because the people of Louisiana were amazing to me. They were amazing. You know, I was not expected to win Louisiana. In fact, that was supposed to, I wasn't expected to win many of the southern places. I'm leading with the evangelicals. I'm leading in so many instances, but I won Alabama. I won so many different states. I was not expected to win Louisiana. And I did look at my people. I said, well, wait a minute, folks. You know, we should have maybe done better, except I also said I won the state, and I think there's a real legal consequence to winning a state and not getting as many delegates. That's nonsense. And you know what? Everyone agrees with me.
Well,
everyone agrees with me.
A lot of people in the game who know this game.
I don't care about the game. I care about the people. And when you go in and win a state and then you don't get the delegates.
One of the things you're saying.
I got some.
Yeah.
You know, I got some. I got many, but I didn't get the number that I should be entitled to.
Your argument about the presidency is you'll come into a new system, learn about it fast, and win like nobody's ever won before. With this delegate fight, it's a new system. You got to get up to speed on it. Do you feel like you're going to win like never before? Because Ted Cruz just took his delegates.
We're talking about
Louisiana.
One state. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's one state.
Ted Cruz was going to win Alabama and Arkansas and Mississippi, and he was going to win Kentucky, and he was going to win all of these states. I won them all. So let's not get carried away with, you know, we don't know what we're doing.
Right.
I've won
you
22
feel like you do
states. He's won 6 or 5 or 7. I've won 22 states. So let's not get carried away with we don't know what we're doing. The one state that I told you about was Louisiana, but I've won a tremendous. Now, on top of that, I have almost 300 more delegates than him. So I think I know something about what I'm doing. And more importantly, in a true sense, from a democracy sense, I have millions of votes more than anybody else. Millions. Millions. That should mean something too. I know in the system it doesn't mean anything, but I have millions more votes than Ted Cruz.
Where are you on the pledge that you took to support the party and the nominee?
I want to support the party. I don't think I have to comment too much on it right now. I want to support the party. If Ted or somebody doesn't want to support me, that's okay. That's okay. But if they don't want to support me, honestly, that's okay. And I can understand how they feel, but it's one of those things.
But you've got a huge following. If there's another nominee, would you tell that big following, hey, we're all Republicans, go support that nominee?
I will tell you when we meet at the convention. We'll see how we're treated. I want to see how we're treated. I want to see how we're treated. Look, I signed the pledge. They wanted me to sign the pledge. And I'm the one that's being discriminated against. Everybody was worried about me. And then because maybe a lot of people didn't expect this to happen, you know, I'm not a politician. I'm self-funding my campaign. A lot of people are very upset about that because people want to give money. Because when they give money, they control the guy that runs for office. You understand that better than anybody. I don't want their money. I don't take their money. So I'm self-funding. People don't like that. People don't like a lot of the things that I'm doing. But you know who does like it? People that are voting. And people are coming from Democrat, and people are coming from Independent. And you know who's coming unbelievably? People that never, ever voted before. People that are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old that never voted before, they're voting in droves.
We're going to have to leave it there, Mr. Trump. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.